Hello. It's TeMeka Williams of Love Inspired Teaching, otherwise known as LITE, and it is the Firestarters podcast. Just want to make sure I welcome folks back, especially those who catch the replay. Thank you so much for watching. We are in transit for a little while today. It won't be quite as bad as some of the ones I've done in the past, but I really wanted to make sure that I hopped on and made this talk about relationships. We did more of a health and wellness feature the last live, but for this one, with the holidays that had just passed and upcoming holidays, it's just plain holiday season, and it's definitely not easy for everyone. Like, there are definitely people who are so in the holiday spirit. At Thanksgiving, we were talking about how some people already had their Christmas trees and already had all their holiday lights up, and some of the radio stations play holiday music right now. And not everyone is necessarily in the mood for that. There are people who have lost a loved one. Let's just face it, the pandemic took a big toll on a significant number of people in the population. So it's not always just like the senior loved ones that are being missed right now. It could be like parents that you thought still had years to go. And there were even younger people that were impacted by loss during the pandemic. The one upside, though, is that with everything swinging in the right direction, still, it's definitely, we're past the worst of it. I feel very comfortable and safe in saying that. That means that we've all kind of moved towards enjoying others' company again. And I know for me, this was the first holiday where it was closer to normal. There was no talk of doing it over video or incorporating a video element to it. And that was nice. Personally, my plans actually fell through, so I had a whole different scramble, but that's just me. But it didn't stop me from thinking about even those in other situations where it's not just the death that you're dealing with, but let's say my situation is more every other holiday. Well, these major holidays for this particular season is a trade-off. So when it comes to that with my kids and not having them some holidays, and every holiday I get that question of, where are your kids? And it's not a shocking question, but it's just one of those questions that kind of underscores this reality of life that I have, that there's not a ton I can really do to change it, right? Like, they say time will change things. I remain hopeful for that, but I don't rely on the idea that, I'll get the parenting change I want. Like, there are much fewer situations, I think, where both parents will split the holiday. Like, where you get every holiday, you just have to split up the day. Or there are some, but it just seems far and few between where they can do the holidays together, especially as people move on and relationships evolve and change, and new people get brought into the picture. That's not as realistic, right? So the holidays is a joyful time for some, but let's talk about the other side where it's not the greatest for everyone. So like I said, we're more used to the idea of people who have loved ones that have passed where it's not the greatest situation for them, but also there are, different situations where it comes with blended families. And honestly, I've also read about, in preparation for this, I've read about situations where there are just some family members you don't necessarily get along with. And that's okay. There's a big movement to protect your peace and make sure that you're in spaces where you feel comfortable. And it goes against the grain of what we're typically taught. It's like, kumbaya, everybody be happy with one another and figure it out, and it's the season to like suck it up. We don't have to do that anymore, y'all. Things have changed. So I wanted to talk about what are the things we can do to make sure that, you know, we focus on relationships that make sense, even particularly for those that have a hard time with the holidays. Even if the holidays are not your favorite, it's not something that, you know, you look forward to. You're in that boat where, you know, they're all right, they're a part of life. You accept them for what they are, but they're just not your favorite. So what are the things that you can do if you're in that situation? And one of the interesting things that have developed over the years is, you know, people do Friendsgivings now. But Friendsgivings tend to occur either before or after the actual holiday. So I think they're helpful in the sense that you still get that connection to people and you have that camaraderie. But it doesn't really resolve the whole feeling like this is just not what you're used to, not how you grew up when it comes to the holidays. So, with that in mind, the things that I came up with as far as different tips and tricks, like treat it honestly as your own personal, like, spa day, more or less, or just a big me day. I know for me that was a huge part of my plan. Like, I knew that the plans I had were tentative, and I was just getting the sense that there may need to be a backup plan. Now, granted, more options came about, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking a day that you get off and making the most of it to do things that you enjoy. And if spas are not your thing, if you don't like to do massages, if you don't like to do aromatherapy, if there's, like, I have a friend whose big thing is fishing. Like, go out, plan a trip for that, or, you know, if it's for some of us, but like that's not in season to do, then, you know, whatever your other interests and hobbies are, go out, do that, right? And the reason why I bring that up is I feel like there's just this idea that you have to do things a certain way. We have this more or less preconceived notion that, or it's really just these expectations of what a situation has to be, what a holiday looks like. You can redefine what the holidays mean and redefine what it looks like for you. And that's really what I want to emphasize, is that I don't feel like I may have put this on the wrong Facebook. Oops. Fine. But why do I just want to emphasize that we have to make adjustments for what will work better for ourselves. So yeah, that was one of the suggestions that I definitely had for people to do. The other one is, honestly, if your holiday situation isn't, you know, what I would call ideal, there's nothing wrong with actually reaching out to your closer friends, you know, making sure that they're aware of how you feel. Lean on your support system. That's why they call it a support system. That's why you have it. You know, you should be able to tell someone that you're not feeling the greatest, that, you know, you just need that extra support. There are plenty of us, I know, like, being private is valued. You don't want everyone under the sun to know how you feel, and you don't want to impact other people's holidays. For those who are truly closest to you, they're going to understand. They're going to want to help. I'll never forget that I had a friend who got one of those unfortunate calls that, you know, someone from their past that they were at one point pretty close to had committed suicide. And the one thing they kept saying was, they had reached out to me. I didn't pick up the phone. I feel really bad. Like I should have known and should have sensed something was going on with them. I think your closest friends would rather, it's not even I think, I know, your closest friends would rather you reach out to them, connect with them, than drown in some overwhelming feelings, that aren't easy to talk about, that need to be addressed, and not necessarily like in a group setting, or not necessarily around a whole bunch of people that don't make you feel the greatest, right? And then the other thing I would say that you can do is, I don't know, like I said, the spa day doesn't necessarily have to be the spa. It can be any hobby you enjoy. But there's also nothing wrong with making it a pajama day. Like, maybe this is because I'm a mom who has kids who like to build pillow forts, but the idea of, having a Netflix binge session and a glass of wine to go with that is definitely quite okay, right? There's no set rule that, things have to go a specific way. Again, eliminate those expectations of what a holiday has to look like. You get to define it for yourself. So if you're into movies, then definitely do that. The one thing that I know a lot of people love to do that I would say to be cautious about is don't overspend. Like people who do the retail therapy. I think that's one you have to be careful with, and it's easy to kind of drown in that. So I definitely wanted to touch on some of those ideas, especially next week will be, I'm still actually waiting for confirmation on this, but next week is going to focus more on the next 4 weeks. Is it 3 or 4 weeks? We were going to do a focus on finance and just the opportunity with cryptocurrency. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to really talk with people about this. There's so many different ways that you can cope. The other one I really debated on was, one of my favorite things about the holidays is the food. There's nothing that should stop you from ever, owning that aspect of it. If you love cooking, or some of us just plain love eating, indulge in that. Do put a twist on that. Do something different related to that, and you'll find that you can spark some more light in your own life by switching things up in that regards, and making it, outside of the norm, all your favorites, or even have a theme. Like, you could definitely do I know that was the pull for my backup plan, was making sure that I incorporated specifically crab. So there's just a lot of different ways you can approach it. Bear with me, y'all. I'm sorry. And I do have a couple of changes to announce. So I'm gonna definitely get the commercial break in right now. Let you guys know I want you to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and check out the website. Make sure you comment, share, all that good stuff. But the other thing is that I am going to change the format for any podcast where it's just me hosting on my own. They're going to stick to more that 30-minute marker. For any podcast where I do have a guest, you can anticipate them being an hour. So all the rest of next month, they'll be hour-long podcasts. But I also need to change the time of the podcast. So the anticipate that the podcast will be switched to 7 p.m. Check the Facebook business page, check the website to see, where what the specific date will be. I really do think it'll be next Tuesday, but there's just a few things I want to confirm before I do that change. But yeah, I want to go ahead and share that with you guys now. So there goes the commercial break. There goes the update. I wanted to switch to podcasting from the house, but the problem with that is I know there's gonna be noise from my dogs if I do that. So we're gonna just rock it on out over here while my battery lasts. But that's what I had to say about your relationships, like in regards to like family and friends. But the holidays are not easy for many different reasons. Those are the family and friend ones. The other one is I wanted to touch on, like I haven't done a dating podcast in a while, but some people refer to this time of year as cuffing season. I don't like, part of me is always like, God, is that really still a thing? But at the same time, especially as you get older, I can see how it's easy to fall into that trap of just finding someone who you can tolerate, finding someone that is easy to pass the time with, that they'll do for now. I really want to see you guys' comments and feedback on that whole concept, especially because, like I said, during the holidays, you can be missing a loved one in your family, or like even with, like I said, for me, it'll be my kids. Anyone who's talks to me knows, like, I make it clear, like, I'm not always the best. I'm accepting of the situation, but it's not what I want in any way, shape, or form. I wish I could have every single holiday with my kids. Some people like that break. It really depends on the person. But at the same time, like, we all have different ways that we go about coping, you know? So one of those ways that some people may cope is by getting a new boo. So for those of you that's your strategy, like, do you really feel like it's healthy for you? In all honesty, like, my biggest concern is time is so valuable and precious and is limited. If there's one thing we cannot buy back, it's time. So is the short-term good feeling, short-term just place fillers the main thing that comes to mind? Is it worth it, especially in the holiday season when you're like feeling low, if you're in that category where it's the holidays don't excite you, or where or maybe not even feeling low, you're just like very blasé. That happens too. Is it worth biding your time? Like, don't you regret it later? Don't you feel like it's counterproductive and even just plain unhealthy to do that, you know? I know there's plenty of people who don't care. They have, just this whatever comes and just live in the moment attitude. And for the most part, I'm a big proponent of live in the moment. But the reality of it when it comes to relationships is, like romantic relationships, is what value are you gaining? Like, are you really treating yourself the best way possible? And from my own experiences, and even from like people I know who work with couples a lot, like, your relationship with yourself is really what drives relationships with others. So if you find yourself in a mediocre or a relationship that is just, what's the best way to put it? there's no depth to it. Like, you're really just going through motions. Maybe that's a sign. I'm really wanting to tell you, it's not a maybe. Take it as a sign that you need to reevaluate how you're feeling about yourself, what you really want. And I've always been a huge fan of the concept of coming up with like a 5-year plan. So if you find that during the holidays, like, not only are you dreading that time around others or lack thereof because your family dynamics have changed, one of the things I would say to really consider is coming up with like a deep dive into what you want for yourself, what is most important when it comes to your relationship specifically. And again, the starting point there is to really, it can be as simple as listing the things that you need, require for yourself, things about yourself, your favorite characteristics about yourself, but also things that you need in all of your relationships to make sure that they're valuable, they're healthy, and that they don't impact you negatively. And that will make it so that, again, you're focusing on what you need and what will ultimately bring a better light to yourself and those around you. By knowing those things, by at least having an awareness of it, and honestly, writing anything down always has a greater impact. It sticks in your mind more, like it's just scientifically proven. I'll have to pull up the actual article that says that. But doing that will allow you, especially as you meet other people that you're interested in, that you feel like you could have a future with, then it'll make it easier for you to recognize when something is a good fit. And it'll also let you be able to be honest with yourself about when someone is not a good fit for you, because that happens as well. So again, that was a different side of the holidays that I wanted to make sure to address. Is, you can definitely do things for yourself on the actual day, especially whatever your reason may be that holidays are not great for you, but don't also neglect that some of us, whether it's consciously or some of you may even need to realize it's subconscious, that you fall into relationships during the season because of that that heartache, that gap, that just feeling that the holidays causes people to just God, why is the word escaping me? To reflect. Simple word. That's totally what I was thinking of. Just reflect on, different memories you have in your life. And that is one of the hard things for us as humans, is that when it comes to our memories, things that are really impactful to us, like, we can carry happiness and lightness with us, but we can also carry a weight. And that's not necessarily always the greatest thing, right? So those were pretty much the main aspects of holidays, relationships that I wanted to go over. I am starting that new format tonight. Don't want to forget to remind you guys to like, subscribe, share, and don't forget to ring the notification bell. Check out the website. The other thing, like I said, I mentioned briefly already, for the month of December, if you caught the podcast with Drew Jackson, he did an intro to cryptocurrency. And if you watched it, it was quite a bit of detailed information about, the history, what makes money relevant, why crypto has been here to stay, but it barely touched on how to get into it comfortably, and make sure that you have like a good baseline understanding. So just to get everyone into the holidays and just the possibility of either a good gift idea or a way to make sure that the holidays don't hit your pocketbooks too hard, or even to, oh no, I'm sorry. Or even to potentially provide it as a gift with Bitcoin specifically. We're doing a whole weekly series on cryptocurrency. I still need to follow up with Drew to know like what the next highlight will be, because there was so much depth with it, but we want to make sure it's not overwhelming and break it up and make sure that it fits more into you know, digestible pieces. So that will be what's coming up next. So thank you so much for those that popped in and joined. I saw we did have a few live viewers, so I appreciate you guys always. This was a happy hour podcast, so I'm still within that happy hour time. I need to make sure I start accounting for that a little bit better. I'll let you guys know when our new time is, but there has been so many changes since I've started the podcast. I really love and appreciate everyone who's supported, who's watched, and I hope to continue to evolve and make this better as we go along, and get more consistent and more awareness of like what the guest topics will be as we move forward. That's the goal. Rolling out the plan is the next step. And I truly hope that you guys have a great holiday season. We're in it now. There are definitely plenty of people I know that absolutely love these holidays. But Love Inspired Teach E is about teaching people, techniques and ways to like address things that are not always the easiest, right? We want to make sure that people feel like they can light their own path, find their way, and just live through with leading with love, inspiring one another, teaching everyone, how to inspire so that we can all evolve. That's the concept behind it. So hopefully that resonates with you. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday when we get into Bitcoin specifically. So thank you guys so much. Have a great night. And I love feedback. So make sure you put comments or email me. You can email me at TeMeka@loveinspiredteache.com. But have an amazing evening. Thanks again. Mwah.